process. Now let us see what is product backlog. This is usually prepared by the product owner. Once he gets the requirements from the customer, he segregates into features and user stories and then creates the product backlog. This is normally done by him based on the Excel sheets, and it will be in the form of epics and stories. Next thing is release planning. It is based on backlog and client deadline. A product owner discuss with the client what are the things should go for the release. Like when we go for we have to plan for the release planning. Like that particular release should go for how many sprints. Like in previous slides we discussed that sprint activity, it takes 2 to 4 weeks. Like normally certain companies it takes 2 weeks or 4 weeks. So in order to plan for release, like how many sprints it should take, like whether it should take 2 sprints or 3 sprints, like 4 sprints, so that should be planned initially. That is called release planning based on the like product backlog, like what is the client deadline, and based on the number of sprints we need for the release. That all these things are considered in release planning. So in release planning it helps to decide like how much each sprints needed for like releasing the software as per the client deadline. So all these are covered in release planning. Next thing which I already discussed in the previous slide, like we are going to see about sprint planning. The sprint planning contains priority requirements for each sprint. This is decided by the product owner, and as we discussed, we saw that the sprint has normally a duration of 2 to 4 weeks. It is based on the discussion, like how many weeks are required for having a sprint for completing the user stories or features or epic. And after completing the software it will be released. Like after a sprint, like after going through sprint and everything, it will be going for release. Like as we discussed in the previous slide, for release planning, like how many sprints it would be taking for like completing the client deadline. So after that it will be like how many sprints, based on the number of sprints, like based on the finishing the client deadline, the software would be released. Till like we also have that till the last sprint version by version, the sprint first version software would be released to the customer. Like whenever even though when we have a release, like go by sprint, the versions, that particular sprint version will be released to the customer. Like the customer can have the, like he should not wait for the like particular deadline. He can have like every time when a sprint activity is happening, the software is produced to some extent. Like the customer should feel that is the main important advantage of agile software development, that we should not wait till the deadline. Till whatever the software is prepared, that version is released to the customer, so he can have a like overlook of the like the software. So based on that he can give comments like these things are not met, like this acceptance criteria, like this requirement is not met. So that one will be shared by the customer, and then we will take it in the next sprint activity. So each sprint the software will be delivered to the customer. So next we are going to speak about sprint planning meeting. This is the initial meeting. Like whenever we are going to start a meeting, the product owner will be having the product backlog. He will be having with stories. What are the things we need to deliver to the client at the initial stage? And each stories, like we assign in the meeting itself, we do a estimation. Like development team and QA team, or whatever team who was developing the software, they do a estimation like what is the story point, like to deliver the software. Like what is the maybe this estimation is like what is the size of the like user story or feature. So that is called story point. It is based upon like following scale. Like it is based on Fibonacci series. Fibonacci series, like we have to we have to use Fibonacci series based story point, and it is also based on sizing. Like we can use XL, double XL, extra large, small, that type of sizing also we can use it for story point. This type of sizing will help us what is the size of the like complexity of the user story. So these things are helping for complexity as well as the estimation, like how quick, like it tells that particular user story is how complex. So that is the reason we use story points. So stories for the sprint, like it will be based on product owner, developer and tester decision. So if a developer cannot complete the story in a particular sprint, so you can tell in the sprint planning meeting this cannot be like completed in a particular sprint. It may take 2 or 3 sprints, and he may opt for short stories to complete first. He may tell the product owner these stories can be completed soon and it will be like useful for customers. So that type of decision he can tell. Like it's like sprint planning is completely a discussion between like scrum master, like all stakeholders, like product owners, developers and testers. Based on the decision only they plan for a particular sprint. So they won't give in like preference for each team. They take it as a complete team, like agile team. Like based on the discussion only they will plan for the stories. This is all these are considered into sprint planning meeting. Like they discuss about the like product backlog, what is a priority should be given based on the client like requirement and everything, what are the features are expected by customer. Like we provide story points, weightage for the stories, what is the like complexity of the stories, user stories which we are accepting, and also like discussion based, like how many sprints it will take to complete the user stories. All these discussions will be happening on sprint planning meeting. Next thing which we discuss is like sprint backlog. In sprint backlog, what is the thing is like we are committed the stories in the sprint, but we are taking the sprint for 2 weeks. Suppose we take like a sprint is carried out on 2 weeks basis. So within the time period, we are not completing the like user stories. Certain stories we are left out. Only few stories we have completed in the sprint. These stories like come in the sprint backlog. So these stories are usually committed in the sprint planning meeting. In the previous slide, we saw that in sprint planning meeting, all the stories which are like committed to the users based on the discussion, like developers and testers and product owners, they along with Scrum Master, they discuss what are the stories we need to cover up in sprint. So that stories only will be coming in the sprint activity. Suppose if that stories committed stories are not completed, it will goes into the sprint backlog. So that is a thing, and it will again go to the product backlog. Actually it goes to the two backlogs, and again the product owner decides like whether this sprint backlog story should be taken once again in the current coming sprint or not, or else he needs to take it from the product backlog. So that things it will be decided by the product owner. But in this, only one thing is the developers and tester, they need to tell like why they haven't completed the particular story in the like mentioned sprint. So that should be told by the developer and tester. So so based on the sprint backlog, developers and testers will work on the like coming sprint task. Like based on sprint backlog and as well as the product backlog, developers and testers will work on the task on the next sprint. Now we will see what is daily scrum meeting. This meeting will be for 15 minutes. As I said in the previous slide, it will be for 15 minutes. And the discussion should be based on blockers, like what are the problems we encounter in like developing the software in on 24 hours. Every 24 hours, this meeting will be conducted. So what are the challenges we are facing in developing the software? Suppose in case there is a power failure, and because of this we are not able to contribute on that day. So these type of problems we can tell. And certain cases like there may be blocker, like a network may not be working, or sometimes system issues. So these things will be discussed, and it will be organized by Scrum Master. It will be conducted on a daily basis, and the Scrum Master will monitor the complete process. And each people will need to give the status. Like development team, from developers, they need to give the status. Like what are the things they have developed, and they faced any challenges or any hurdles or any blockers. That will be shared by development team and testing team also. Like if they face any challenges, that it will be shared in this meeting. This part of the people who are part of this meeting are product owners, scrum masters, developers, and testing team will be part of this meeting. Now we see what happens after a completion of a sprint. So after completion of a sprint, we also discussed previous slides that what is the QA team task. They used to demo the functionality of the software to the product owners, and sometimes it may include also a clients or everybody in the team. So they give a demo like what is the functionality of the software produced or developed. whether the product owner or client, they check this, like whether the functionality is working proper or not. So based on that, they will accept the work done by the development team and testing team. If the requirement is not met, they again they will make it to the next sprint. Like they, if there are any drawbacks also, they will convey it. And if there are any new changes also, they will convey it. The product owner or client will convey it, and then it will be taken into the next sprint. Next is the sprint retrospective. This meeting is mostly like after the completion of the first sprint itself. This retrospective meeting will happen. It involves like what all the things went wrong, what are the things went well, and improvement ideas on the completed sprint. This retrospective meeting will be mostly happening between the scrum master and the top level management. So it is not like certain conditions it may happen with scrum master with other team members as well. But this is like discussion, like what are the things well, it is like strategic process, like what all the things went wrong. Like in the sprint, we may like not completed certain tasks, or there may be some blockers like system issues and everything, so that things will be noted, and what all the things went well. So like certain stories we would have completed very soon, and the story points also will be matching, so that things will be considered here. And improvement areas on the completed sprint, since we lag, like we cannot complete certain task, or it is carried out to sprint backlog or product backlog, we need to analyze why it went, like how much time it is needed, like how many sprints it is needed. So that things will be discussed in the sprint retrospective. And this sprint retrospective meeting, we have various reports. Based on the reports also we can analyze, like we have velocity chart, we have burn down chart. Like burn down chart is the effort, like how much effort we put on user stories and issues in the sense the user stories. And we have velocity chart, like how many stories we have completed within the particular sprint. So these things will be analyzed. Based on that, it will be planned for next sprint, and it will be like conveyed in the next sprint planning meeting.